Hi and welcome to our post-K-Run webinar for the nutrition courses. My name's Ashley, I'm a graduate ambassador at Newcastle University, and I'm just going to pass over to the panel so they can introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is George Leeds. I'm a professor for international nutrition and I'm part of the lecturing team here at the degree course in Newcastle.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm an undergraduate student studying food and human nutrition. I'm just coming to the end of my placement year and I'm about to start final year next month.
Hi, I'm Kirsten Brandt. I'm the admission tutor for this program, so I'll talk a bit more about the program in a few minutes, and I also teach in the program.
Hi, my name's Wasim Iqbal, and I have just finished my second year of food and nutrition. I'm about to start placement year.
Okay, so first of all, we're going to go over to Kirsten, who's going to give a short presentation on the nutrition programs, and then we'll be taking some questions from you. If you've got any questions, just put them in the comment box and then we'll answer them.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about the nutrition programs here at Newcastle University. It's not only food and human nutrition, it's also nutrition and food marketing, and probably just as many of the students with nutrition and food marketing. And altogether that makes it 4 degrees, because both degrees have versions with placement or without placement. And I even put a little bracket down there. We also have a joint honours program with psychology and nutrition, because much of the stuff I'm talking about, nutrition, is actually relevant for that program as well, because half of the modules there are the same nutrition modules as these 2 other programs are taking. So in this little presentation, I'll tell you just a few slides about Newcastle, then I'll tell you about how we teach the nutrition at Newcastle University, go into a little bit more detail of the structure of the programs, like the contact hours, teaching methods, the placement year and the honours project, and a few slides at the end about the employment that's possible afterwards. Newcastle is a wonderful place to be a student. I've been told. Yeah. Hope people are nodding around me. It's great for students, and lots of them. The university is in the city centre, so you don't have to cycle for half an hour to get there. And it's a nice city, and you even have the coast of Northumberland just around you. And it's relatively easy to get to. It's far away that your parents aren't going to come in over for lunch, but on the other hand, you can get back to them when you really want. Thinking about specifically the teaching in Newcastle, so we've had these programs in food and nutrition for many years, more than 25 years, the food and human nutrition degree. Which means that all the employers around the country actually know about it, and many of them have our graduates already employed. The nutrition and food marketing is a new degree. It's only a few years ago, and the first graduates came out in 2016. And this program was created sort of as a follow-up to the food and human nutrition degree, because a lot of people in industry said they would like to have some students who had just a bit more marketing during their program. So Newcastle University, we've got lots of good facilities for teaching and research, and we also have quite good ranking in relation to the university guide. You'll see that we're among the top 8 universities for this program, food science. The structure of the university is that we've got 3 faculties: humanities, medical sciences, and then the science, agriculture, engineering. And the nutrition programs are now based mainly in the medical faculty, the School of Biomedical Sciences, but we also have people involved from other schools there. We also have some contribution from the science, agriculture and engineering, where we actually used to run the program. So you will be doing some modules in different schools during the program. Both of our nutrition programs are accredited by the Association for Nutrition, so you will get a professional accreditation without doing anything else. Those students who take the food marketing program will also have an accreditation from the Chartered Institute of Marketing, which gives them some postgraduate opportunities. And then, almost most important, both programs have this opportunity for doing a placement, where you can learn how to do a job, how to get a job. So when you actually graduate, you know how to do it. You also have some options there, like the licentiateship of the City and Guild Institute, which is particularly important for students who want to work in industry. Altogether, getting you excellent care prospects, and we also have a reputation from the many years. The teaching methods, average contact hours, it's something people often ask about. On this slide here you can see, so it's approximately 20, a bit more in the second year, a bit less in the final year. But of course, you are then expected still to do studying as a full-time job, so it takes at least twice the time to write all the assignments and stuff that you need to do. So in the first couple of years, if you sort of look at how the time is spent, well, there's some time on lectures and laboratory practicals and seminars and things like that, but there's also a lot of time on reading and learning, but this is directed. We'll sort of tell you what you should be reading, how you should collect information and learn for yourself. We also have a tutoring system which you can go via the link here. It might work if I click on it. It seems to work, yeah? No? Okay, well, let's go on to the next one. Forgot to test this one. Anyway, we have a personal tutoring thing which you can see if you follow this link afterwards from the recording. And we also keep track of making sure that the tutors actually meet with the students and what they've spoken with them about, so you can always go back and check what you talked about. There we come out. So here's the document you can find on the web page. It explains everything you can expect from your tutors. Basically, we want to make sure that there's always somebody you can ask, that that students who have any kind of problems or just don't know what's being expected of them, that they always have the possibility of getting some help so that they can focus on the studies and don't have to worry about other things about being here in the city. Specifically for teaching, we also have the Blackboard, which is like a web page for every module where you can learn about your lectures and find out what are the assignments you need to do, submit assignments. And the lectures themselves are also being recorded, a bit like this lecture here, so that you can go back and listen to the same lectures again. And these recordings are then made available through Blackboard. Of course, you still hope that students actually come to the lectures, but if you're sick, you're not going to miss it. And when you are revising for exams, you can go back and check that you got it right the first time. And it sort of looks like that, where you will have a little link that you can click on and then go through the whole lecture again. They don't record the lecture's picture, but they do record the sound of their voice and then all the slides that are being shown. Now, after those two first years, which are sort of a bit like school, but more independent work than school, then we have the placement year. It's not compulsory, it is optional. So whether or not you choose it to begin with, you have the choice to do it or not. We very strongly encourage it. Most of our students have done it in the past. We have a minimum of 7 months, but most students do a placement which is a full year or do more than one placement during the year. It has to be something to do with food and nutrition, but otherwise you can do anything you want to do. And you can do it anywhere that you can find a placement. The assessment is a pass-fail, and people generally pass. We haven't had anybody failing yet. But you have to make a portfolio of your skills. You have to do a presentation to the new students when you come back from your placement, and your provider has to write a little assessment of how you did. You can also get this licentiateship I mentioned before. The placement year can be done in many different contexts. If you're interested in, say, product development, you can do it like that, or you might work in a lab doing research. It could be more technical, towards retail marketing, research, and also charities are involved here. Here's just an example of an email from one of the students when our placement coordinator, he will go and visit everybody and contact them, ask them how they're doing during the placement year, and she's talking about how she's already been offered a job for once she graduates. And it is every year, at least a couple of students actually get jobs with the places they went for placement. Coming to stage 3, the final year, there's much less lectures and practicals and seminars. It's much more focused on you finding out what you want to do and choosing what to do, reading and learning the things that are important for you and your own projects. In particular, the honours projects, which is a third of the final year, where you can do a real research project or part of a research project and learn and develop a lot of skills that are relevant. In addition to the actual study of your project, you also learn about how to plan things, how to read the literature, how to analyze and present data, and use all the tools that you've been learning in the previous years. We have a lot of different research topics. I won't go through them today, but I'll show you the slide, because if you go into the HNRC and look at the various lectures there, then all the staff in the HNRC supervise final year projects. And when you look at the kind of research they do, then you can get an idea about the many different options for doing final year projects. I'll just highlight two projects, one from a student of food and human nutrition, Duncan Fairbrother, because he got a prize for it. To give you an example in that area, so he was studying food consumption by homeless people and the adequacy of the food provided to them. That study has also been published later. Another example here is from a food marketing and nutrition, food nutrition with food marketing, program, the kind of projects that they would be doing, which is more about understanding what the industry feels about, in this case, public policy. And again, we got a big prize for the projects, both to the student but also to the supervisor team. So that's the kind of things you can do in your final year, starting your new career afterwards. So on this slide here is just a random selection of some jobs that some of our students got in a couple of years ago. And so you can see you can work both in industry or public jobs, or continue in postgraduate studies afterwards. Important to remember is that the Food and Human Nutrition program is not a dietetics program, but it is possible to continue into postgraduate dietetics diploma afterwards, if that's what you want to do. And here's just a slide showing one of our graduates, just to kind of give an idea of the kind of jobs that you can have after completing our program. So she's working as nutritionist at Sainsbury's. And this is what it should all lead up to, graduating cohort from a couple of years ago. And so finally, I'll just show the slide here with email addresses for the degree program director and for myself. And if you've got any questions and so on that you don't get answers for today, then you just contact us and we'll try to help you with whatever you'd like to know more about.
Okay, so now we're just going to answer some of the questions that we have been given. So the first one is to do with placement years, and it's for Rachel, and it just says, can you tell me more about placements? And Rachel, where did you do yours?
I'm doing my placement at the university in the agriculture building in NU Food, which is a food and consumer research facility. So I'm a research assistant there. So I guess in terms of, I can tell you about applying for placements. You start doing that at the start of second year, pretty much straight away, because some of the deadlines can be before Christmas. So you'd have to make sure you've done your CV and write cover letters, and it's probably best to send, I would say from my experience, to apply to as many places as possible, because it's really competitive. And then you'll have phone interviews and initial interviews and second interviews, and it's pretty much like applying for a real job. But yeah, I was lucky that there are opportunities at the university, so if you fail, to secure any of those others that you've applied for.
Yeah. And does the university have many links with industry?
Well, we have, on one hand, we have all our previous, well, not all of, most of our previous graduates working in industry now who know about the university. And many of our students who go out for placements are actually end up in the companies where they sort of meet our prior graduates. We also have industry working with us in terms of research projects and testing. where we might be testing products in these resource facilities that Rachel was talking about, and they come here for doing trials. So those are the main types of links we have. I don't know if you can say anything.
Yeah, I just want to add that the degree program is so popular with industry that actually industry is contacting us quite often for graduates.
Yeah.
So it's not only that it's extremely helpful in terms of finding placement or the placement itself, but it also is extremely helpful when it comes to finding a job at the end. So we are in direct contact with industry, and we actually have an industry program manager, Carl Christensen, who actually is managing this part of the program and also is fostering the interaction with the industry.
Okay. And the next question we have is, can you tell me more about the type of lab work we will be conducting during our course?
Could you say something about that, Vasily?
Well, we'll do quite a range of different labs. So in first year, I can't remember first year. The first year you do
We had biochemistry in first year
yeah, you had
and microbiology.
Yeah, so in first year you have your general biochemistry, microbiology, which if you've done biology in A level, you would have had, it's just reinforcing your skills which you had done in A levels. And then when you move into second year, you do a bit more specific nutrition related practicals such as green tea, and experiments on kidney beans, on the effects of how it inhibits protein digestion. And it's the entire of your first semester in second year is filled with practicals, and then you have joint practicals with biology students in the first year.
Okay. And then we've got a question again for the students. So I'm a little worried about my accommodation. Where is the best place to live, and which halls did you live in?
I think the best, I can't really answer the question, the best one to live in, because different accommodations are, have different benefits. So some are more social than others. Like, it's not there anymore, but Richardson Road and Castle Leazes, which is still available, are quite social because it's one corridor with all the rooms off it with a shared kitchen at the end. But then there are other accommodations which are more contained flats. I lived in Victoria Hall, which was like that. It was just 4 bedrooms and a kitchen, so it's more intimate. But it's not always as easy to meet people from other flats or in different blocks. And there's also some which are really nice. I have some friends living in St Mary's, but it's 40 minutes to an hour to walk there. But there is a free bus, but there's only 2 a day, and it's very busy because everyone's trying to get on the same bus.
Yeah.
And then I guess there's just a factor of price as well, because some are more expensive than the others. Like some of the nice newer ones, like the View near St James's Park, is in the city centre, so it's quite expensive, I think.
Yeah, one thing to say, if anyone is coming in through clearing, then Newcastle will guarantee that you will be given accommodation if you get your application in time. In the halls that usually come up for that are St Mary's, as mentioned before, which is a little bit further out the city, but there is a free bus that brings you in and out of university. As Castle Leazes, which is one of the more social halls, and it's just a short walk from the medical school. And then there's also Turner Court as well, which is just a little walk out of the city as well. I myself, during my degree, I lived at home. I think you did as well, didn't you? Yeah. And I never really felt like I was missing out on much by living at home, because Newcastle is such a small place as well that it's quick enough to get around. And yeah. So our next question is, what are the sports facilities like, and are there many teams to join?
There are a lot of sports clubs. I'm not a member of any of them. I'm not really a sporty person, but I do have a membership for the sports centre, and I use the gym facilities and go to the classes as well, because depending, there's 2 different tiers of sports centre membership. There's silver and gold. If you have silver, you can go to classes, but you have to pay £2 each time. But if you have gold, you can use any of the facilities you want, book out rooms and courts for personal use, and go towards the classes for free. But if you want to be a member of the sports society, you do need a silver gym membership. But I think that's only about £60 or £70 a year.
Yeah, there are over 70 sports teams at Newcastle University. So whichever sport you're interested in, there probably is a team for it. There's also something called Give It a Go, which you can just go and join maybe a bit of an unusual sport and see if you like it. Newcastle play in the Bucks League, so that's the elite sporting league in the UK. So they're in top 10 teams for that. And also there's like intramural sports where it's just a bit more fun and less competitive as well. And also the university are investing like millions of pounds into new sporting facilities as well. So the next question is, do I need to buy many books in advance?
Right, maybe if I take this one, the answer to that is actually absolutely not. We will not advise to buy any books before you start at university for a very, very simple reason. First of all, we do have core books that we recommend, but there are a range of core books that we recommend for your studies. And depending on the style of the book, you may not like certain books, but you may prefer others. All of the core books are in the library. We recommend that you rent them or not borrow them, kind of have a look at them, read them, and then see what you like. If you then still feel that you need to have that book at your private disposal, then we would recommend to go and buy one of those core books, but please read them first and do not spend your money right away and then realize that actually you bought the wrong book.
Yeah, I think the university resources, the university library resources at Newcastle are really great as well. And there's a lot of online resources, so it's easy to find like new journals and things like that.
You can also request the library like to purchase a book if you want to look at it, but it's not in the library. You can ask them if they can buy it as part of their collection.
I mean, many of the teachers don't actually use books very much because nutrition is one of those fields that are advancing very quickly, where we learn through research, we learn new things every year. So what it says in a 10-year-old textbook, a lot of it isn't actually correct anymore. So rather than investing in a book which will very soon become obsolete, it's more important to sort of follow on what's happening online and learn how to learn about the newest research there.
The next question we have is, I understand that Newcastle is a Russell Group university. What benefit will this have to me?
Do you want to answer that,
No,
Kirsten?
you could say something about that.
Okay.
I'd like to hear what the students think about that as well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, the real benefit of a Russell Group is that the Russell Group is a research-intensive university. You will have quite a lot of university that will teach the degree course, but what we particularly stress is that the students should be involved in research in one way or another. And that means not just simply involved in doing your projects in the final year, but it also means that you should be exposed to scientific research as it evolves over time. And that means that all of our research staff is research active, and that's really important. And that means that you get direct exposure to current methodologies in various settings throughout the degree course. That is not as evident in your first, or maybe even not as yet in your second year, but it becomes very, very evident in your final year. So it would be good to hear what the students actually think about.
Yeah, I agree that we get a lot of exposure to research, and if we want, it's easy enough for us to go and see, get involved with what's going on. And there's like the weekly HNRC seminars, which is a Human Nutrition Resource Centre, which is they have seminars pretty much like every Monday, so we can go along and listen to them. But it's hard to answer because I've not been to a non-Russell Group university, so it's kind of hard to compare. But I would say it's definitely a benefit because you're there while the research is being done, and you get to hear from your academics like what they're working on. So
I mean, maybe elaborate a little bit more on that. Because we are all active in the research, we also know something about which part of the sort of landscape of nutrition that we're confident. For this part here, we understand how it works, and we can teach, this is how it works. But there's so many other places where we know that we don't quite understand it yet, and that what we can teach the students is how to find information, how to keep up to date with information. But we can't actually say this is how it works, but we can tell the students and teach them how to find out when we eventually learn through research how it works, then how can you know it? And in an area like nutrition, which is changing all the time, that's really so important. It's about you need to keep running just to not fall back. And what you say about, we haven't studied at non-Russell universities either, but we can think about how much a struggle it is for us. It must be even more difficult for people who are not actively involved in research. Really know, I don't know what the consequences of that.
So the next question we have is, can you tell me more about the types of jobs people go on to and what are typical graduate careers?
Yeah, maybe I could say that because, of course, I looked through the data when I put the presentation together. So about 60% of our graduates until now, keep in mind, most of them have been food and human nutrition graduates because the nutrition and food marketing is a new degree. But most of them, at least 60%, get jobs in industry. Most of them start out working with a new product development. So they work with finding out how you can put together foods that, for example, can be labeled as being particularly good in nutrition, how you can improve the nutrition without losing the taste. Then as the years go by, many of these people actually end up working more in the management of the company. So they help to set the policy of the company, decide how this company is going to develop. The remaining 40% tend to end up in either public health, so for example, this helping with school policy, how to develop new foods that work in schools or for older people, or in relation to charities, or basically the rules about food safety. They need people who understand food to do that. So that's a very wide variety for that group.
Yep. So our next question is, I am interested in completing a PhD in the future. What support is available to me to help me reach this goal? Do we receive support through through the program and career service on our next steps?
Can you say something about that?
Yeah, I can do. Every student that starts the FHN degree course can do a PhD at the end, but you need to have a 2-1 as a minimum outcome for being able to actually continue doing a PhD. So that's kind of like a general guideline. Because the degree course is research focused, the PhD itself actually is, or you kind of more or less get trained towards doing a PhD. We've had already at least, I think, 2 students inside the university that have done a PhD, but we've also had other students that went to other organizations that also did PhD. So we have a range of students that actually went on and did the PhD straight after the degree course. We also have some students that actually first did an MSc in either a related degree course and then went on to do a PhD as well. It's not the majority of students, as you've just heard from Kirsten, but those that are interested in doing a PhD, we do see that that actually can be quite successful. But as I mentioned right at the beginning, you need to have a 2-1 to be able to go down that route.
Can I just comment something about that?
Yeah.
So I'm doing a research scholarship at the minute, which is like open for second years and third years to apply for, and it really gives you insight if you apply for it to what PhD students do and postgraduate students do, because it really puts you in independent as to carry out the research with a supervisor. And so I'd recommend people to do that before they do postgraduate.
Yeah.
I mean, I can also put in some numbers because I mean, it's on the average 1 or 2 of the students every year who actually go on to a PhD, and something like 3 or 4 who go on and do an MSc, and some of them then will continue with a PhD. So it's probably something like 10% overall who eventually go there, not necessarily straight. Also, it's I'm not so sure about the numbers, but something like 75% of the students who get a 2-1 and therefore would be able to continue straight into a PhD. Of course, those who don't get a 2-1 still have the option of doing an MSc and then do a PhD later.
Yeah. I think they mentioned about just the university in general as well. Whatever your goals are, we have a really great career service down at the Kingsgate. It's award-winning, and they've got support there for whatever you want to do. So there's bound to be someone in the team who will be able to help you with that.
Yeah, I should mention one thing as well, if you are interested in doing postgraduate study, because I've several times experienced that when I've been a tutor for a student, and the student maybe did not make their 2-1, and they applied for studentships somewhere, heard people coming back from different universities and saying, well, because this is a student from Newcastle, we know that a 2-2 from Newcastle is actually a very good one, so we'll take them anyway. And that's, of course, very good to hear that. I mean, students sometimes, Newcastle University is not a place where you go and you get top marks very easily. You have to work for it. But the employers know that. And so you might actually get away with slightly lower marks than if you came from another university for the same job.
So our next question is, I have looked through the modules for the FHN programme. I'm interested to find out from the student what their favourite modules were.
Oh, that's an interesting question. And I know like that it changes because like both of us didn't do the same modules because it does change like quite often. But I actually really enjoyed the biochemistry module in first year, which I don't know if a lot of my fellow course mates would have agreed with that, but that's just like I enjoyed it. But yeah, I think that
I think if once you learn like the biochemistry processes, it's really applicable to a lot of things. You can apply it to a lot of things.
and I like nutrition and metabolism as well.
And you have a module which nutrition. Do you want to explain what that is? So it's basically you learn about all the vitamins and then you can. It's up to you. For instance, if you want to research into a particular vitamin or read into a particular vitamin, then you've got the back-end knowledge of it. And you also have a module which is full of practicals, which Chris does in first semester of your second year, and that really gives you the practical skills needed for final year.
I mean, I should mention that we don't have any final year students here, but when we ask them about it, they generally like, we have a module about current topics where they go to a conference, and students generally very happy with that to get an idea about what other researchers in other places are doing and how the nutrition knowledge is sort of developing out of the research.
Okay, and this is another one for the students. So I'm looking forward to starting at Newcastle. What is Freshers Week like?
Freshers Week is a busy week. There's a lot to do during Freshers Week. Because there's stuff to do for everyone, even if you're not the type of person that likes to go out and drink every night, because that option is available. Because if you get a wristband, they have events on every night. So then people go out every single night for 6 nights in a row. But there's also events, fun things to do during the day, like different fun things to try. Like I went to laser tag and I went to Go Ape, ice skating, fun things like that. But you'll also have talks like for the course, like welcome talks and maybe tours or just like talks from the lecturers and stuff to introduce you and welcome you.
This year, for the people who start in stage 1, they're actually invited to go and hear the placement talks. Previously, we sometimes only invited the second year students, but because, as Rachel said, that you have to start applying already in the very start of the second year, that some students actually want to come already in the first year and just see what's happening with the people who return from placements, talk about all the different jobs they've had and how they got the placements.
Okay, brilliant. And that's all the questions that we've got for today. So if you've got any more questions, then contact us on fms.studentrec@ncl.ac.uk, and all the information's on the website as well.